Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an adventure, drama, and sci-fi film called Interstellar. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. An Air Force pilot named Cooper flies through the skies when suddenly his jet loses all of its power. Cooper awakens from his dream, and his daughter Murph talks to him about ghosts. Murph asks if her father dreamt about the plane crash again, but Cooper doesn't want to talk about it. Cooper's father-in-law, Donald, calls the children to the table for breakfast. Cooper's son, Tom, teases his sister for saying that a ghost broke their father's miniature lander. Cooper reminds Murph that ghosts aren't real but challenges her to make a believable case to prove her theory. The adults make their way outside to talk about the spreading disease named blight affecting the farms. Cooper and the kids leave their home, and on their way to school, they blow a tire. Cooper orders Tom to patch up the tires while he and Murph talk. A military drone passes above them, and Cooper hurries the children inside. They follow the drone despite having a flat tire, passing through the cornfields. Tom assumes control of the vehicle while his father scrambles for his equipment. Cooper is preoccupied with trying to capture the drone, not realizing they're at the edge of a cliff. Cooper successfully hacks the drone, and he lands it with Murph's help. With no military for the drone to serve, Cooper intends to give it a better purpose. They arrive at school. Tom leaves for class while Murph stays in the car. Cooper attends a parent-teacher conference where the principal expresses Tom's potential of being a great farmer someday. But Cooper wants Tom to go to college and argues that taxpayer money should fund the university since there are no more armies. The country, however, doesn't need any more college-educated people. They need farmers to help the worldwide famine. Next, Murph's teacher shows concern over her interest in the moon landing. The moon landing is now considered a fake, and Murph shouldn't focus on such things. When the teacher calls the so-called breakthroughs of society useless, Cooper argues that if those useless breakthroughs like the MRI were still being produced, his wife would still be alive. The teacher apologizes and asks for Cooper's help concerning Murph's behavior. Cooper says he'll handle it by taking her to a baseball game. Cooper returns to the car and tells Murph she's suspended. They head back to the farm where the tractors have gone haywire. In Murph's room, they find books all over the floor. Murph says it's the ghost communicating through Morse code, but Cooper disagrees. Later that day, Cooper fixes the tractors, but the reason they malfunctioned remains a mystery. He and Donald reminisce about the old days when there was an innovation every day. Donald likes the world's current peaceful situation, but he worries about Cooper's unrelenting dream of space travel. At the baseball game, Tom agrees to take care of the farm in the future. Suddenly, sirens start wailing, bringing a sandstorm to the people's attention. Everyone doesn't seem too alarmed, and they leave in an orderly fashion. The family drives back to their home when Murph realizes that she left the window open. She and Cooper run up to close it. As the dust settles, Cooper observes the strange pattern on the floor. The next day, Murph finds her father in her room. Cooper throws a coin that quickly drops to the floor. He smiles, saying that the ghost in Murph's room is gravity all along. Realizing that the sand is communicating through binary, the father-daughter duo pulls out a map to mark the coordinates given by the sand. Cooper prepares to head to the location, refusing to let Murph go with him. But Murph stows away by hiding under the blankets, forcing Cooper to let her join. Night arrives, and Cooper drives carefully around the unknown area. He exits the vehicle to cut down the gate blocking them. A flashlight turns on, and a voice threatens Cooper before tasing him. Inside the protected area, Cooper wakes up and gets interrogated by TARS, a tactical robot. Dr. Amelia Brand enters the room, introducing herself to Cooper, who's familiar with another Professor Brand. Amelia leads Cooper to a conference room where his daughter mingles with the elderly crowd. There he reconnects with Professor Brand. Cooper explains how they found the hidden base vaguely until Murph blurts out that gravity led them there. Cooper refuses to say more unless their safety is guaranteed. They laugh at him as they reveal their NASA. Behind the walls is a group of engineers working on a rocket ship. Professor Brand explains how society doesn't support funding for space exploration anymore because of the famine. However, they've transitioned their efforts to finding a solution to the food shortage. Different crops get affected by the blight disease each year. Wheat and potatoes are no longer grown, and they expect corn to be the next to fall. The blight consumes the oxygen on Earth, thus, Professor Brand predicts that Murph's generation will be the last to survive. NASA has no plan to save the world, but they plan to leave it. Professor Brand introduces Cooper to Project Endurance, the final addition to the Lazarus missions. The Lazarus missions are Earth's last expedition in hopes of finding a habitable planet. After some convincing, Cooper agrees to be Project Endurance's pilot for humanity and especially for his children. At the conference room, Cooper gets briefed for the mission. NASA has discovered a wormhole near Saturn that leads to another galaxy. They also think that some omnibenevolent beings placed the wormhole as a means to help humans. 10 years ago, NASA sent 12 astronauts to the 12 planets. Only 3 have sent transmissions about their planet's suitability for life. The mission has a Plan A and a Plan B. Plan A is to use the entire facility, the one they're currently in, as a spacecraft that will harness gravitational forces to propel itself and the surviving humans into space. However, the process is only in theory. Professor Brand is yet to translate it into practice. Plan B, on the other hand, will send thousands of fertilized eggs to start a colony on the new planet. With a determined look, Professor Brand assures Cooper that plan will be operational by the time he returns. His words reach Cooper's soul, and from then on, Cooper puts his complete faith in him. Back at home, Cooper tries to talk to Murph, who's saddened by the news of her father leaving. Donald confronts Cooper later that night about his dream of space travel finally coming to reality. Cooper says that the mission is humankind's final hope. It's time they leave the planet that's been slowly killing them off. Morning arrives, and Cooper comforts Murph. Cooper tells her that he's only doing this for her and Tom. Murph tries to change his mind, saying that the message from the ghost is the word stay. Cooper doesn't listen and hugs her tightly as if it's the last time. He gives her a watch, telling her that time in space is slower than on Earth and that they may be the same age when he returns. However, she throws it away out of anger. Cooper bids farewell and assures her he'll be back. Outside, Cooper hugs his son, passing the truck and his responsibilities to him. In the car, he looks under the blanket to make sure Murph isn't there. After he's driven off, Murph runs to chase him, but she's too late. As the countdown commences, drops of tears flow down his face as if it's counting for him. The rocket launches, and Cooper's crew, along with TARS, leaves their home. In space, Amelia engages in playful banter with Cooper. They near the Endurance space station, and Doyle prepares to lock the hatch, successfully docking the spacecraft. The crew enters the station and powers up the controls in case another tactical robot. The boosters turn on, and the space station starts rotating. Romilly, another member of the crew, feels sick. Professor Brand appears on the screen and wishes them good luck with their 2-year journey to Saturn. Endurance starts spinning its way into the deep dark space. On the window, Cooper observes Earth now miles away. Meanwhile, Romilly enters his chamber, getting ready for deep sleep. Amelia and Cooper talk about the 3 astronauts they're potentially meeting, Dr. Mann, Dr. Miller, and Dr. Edmonds. Dr. Mann receives high praise from her as he inspired the rest of them to follow him on the dangerous expedition. Amelia enters her chamber, and Cooper takes this time to talk to TARS privately. He asks the robot if Amelia has a relationship with Dr. Edmonds. TARS dodges the question, saying it's programmed not to disclose sensitive information. Cooper sits in front of the video recorder, saying his goodbyes to his children before he goes into a deep sleep. Back on Earth, Professor Brand visits Cooper's family. He gives them the video message from Cooper, but Murph isn't interested. Brand talks to Donald about taking Murph under his wing. Years pass, and near the outskirts of Saturn, a faint shine is seen passing by. Cooper is awake, watching the video messages from his family. He sits beside Romilly, who seems paranoid about their situation. Cooper comforts him and lets him borrow his earphones. Doyle and Cooper review the images collected by probes that went through the wormhole. On the radio, Amelia informs the crew that they'll reach the wormhole in a few hours. The crew sits anxiously in their spacesuits with the fate of humanity resting on their shoulders. The ship's integrity barely keeps up with the insane speeds as they travel through the wormhole. On her side, Amelia sees a distortion in space, seemingly like an arm reaching out. Thinking it's the omnibenevolent beings, she reaches out. Then, everything goes silent, the ship stabilizes, and they float smoothly once again. The crew gathers for a meeting. They decide on which planet to travel to. Dr. Edmonds has lost connection to the crew, leaving them with 2 choices. One of the choices is a planet near Gargantua, a black hole. An hour there is 7 years on Earth. With this information, Doyle and Cooper argue. Doyle wants to proceed with Plan B and let everyone on Earth die. Cooper proposes a middle ground. The ship will travel to the opposite side of Gargantua so that their time won't get affected when they land. The crew agrees with the plan. After some preparations, Case accompanies the crew in the expedition to the planet while Romilly stays behind. They experience heavy turbulence as they near the planet's surface. The crew readies for landing, and a vast ocean meets them as they pass through the clouds. Cooper expertly pilots the craft, precisely stopping just before hitting the waters. Time is ticking, and Doyle and Amelia venture out into the shallow seas. Case finds debris from Dr. Miller's beacon. They try to find the rest of the wreckage, walking towards the mountains ahead. Inside the ship, Cooper realizes that the mountains are waves. Fortunately, the waves are moving away from them. Unfortunately, another follows it from behind. Despite the towering wall of water, Amelia continues her search for Dr. Miller's data. She finds it but falls as she tries to pull it out. Case transforms to a wheel and rushes towards her. It carries her to the ship, and Cooper closes the hatch. Just as Doyle is about to enter, the rough waves carry him away. The wave makes contact with the ship, flooding the interior. They get flung around inside as they surf the wave. They survive the rough seas, but the ship is damaged. Cooper snaps at Amelia for not returning when he told her to. They'd been on the planet for almost an hour. Not only did they lose Doyle, but they also lost decades worth of time. Amelia believes that Dr. Miller just landed on the planet hours ago due to the time difference, hence why the wreckage was somewhat intact. Their hopelessness grows when Cooper realizes his daughter is now an adult. The waves don't give them time to rest as another is about to crash into them. Their desperate attempts to restart the engine works and they fly off into safety. Back in the ship, a much older Romilly welcomes them. They've been gone for over 23 years, leaving the two in disbelief. Romilly informs them that he has learned all he can from the black holes but couldn't send his research to Earth. Meanwhile, Cooper goes through over 23 years of video messages, seeing his children's lives pass him by. Cooper tears up as his timid young boy has now become a husband, a father, and a parent who lost a child in a span of several videos. Donald died, and Murph had grown distant. Tom says his goodbyes as he accepts that Cooper isn't coming back. The screen fades to black, and Murph appears, starting her message by cursing at her father. It's her birthday, and she's the same age as Cooper. She finishes off her message by asking him to return. Murph dries her tears and sees Professor Brand in a wheelchair by the door. He's surprised to see her sending her first message. They make their way to his office to work together on the still unsolved theory. Murph stares intently at the board. She realizes that they've been looking at the equation all wrong. Professor Brand knows about this, but Murph doesn't understand why he doesn't make a change. Back in Endurance, they weigh their options of visiting Dr. Mann's planet or Edmonds, who has stopped transmitting a while back. Amelia believes that the latter is the better option as it's farther from the black hole. Cooper argues that Dr. Mann, who continues to send transmissions to them, is the obvious choice. Before they start a vote, Cooper informs Romilly about Amelia's bias for Edmund's planet since they have a relationship. Amelia doesn't deny it. Instead, she even pushes the idea of their love being more than enough of a reason for them to choose Edmund. The two aren't affected by her emotional speech, and they chart a course to Dr. Mann's planet. On Earth, Tom fulfilled his potential of being a farmer. He burns a line of crops to stop the blight from spreading. Murph visits Tom and his wife, Lois. Tom's second son, Coop, has respiratory problems due to the dust storms in the area and the deteriorating conditions of the planet. Meanwhile, in Endurance, Amelia holds a grudge against Cooper. She says that if Dr. Mann's planet isn't suitable, they'd have to either return or continue with Plan B on Edmund's planet, sacrificing the lives of billions on Earth. Murph rushes to the hospital to visit Professor Brand. As he nears his death, she assures him that she'll finish what he started. With his last words, Brand confesses to Murph that Project Endurance wasn't meant to return and that Plan A and the theory are all lies. Brand dies, leaving a dumbfounded and frustrated Murph. Murph relays the news through a video message. She accuses Amelia of knowing her father's lies. A spacecraft on the horizon prepares to enter Dr. Mann's planet. The crew arrives at the snowy mountains, where they see a base. They open the rundown living area to see Dr. Mann in a deep sleep. Upon waking him, Mann immediately cries at the sight of another human being. Mann shares his discovery about the planet. They are currently at a peak where there is no breathable air. However, the planet has a lower surface, where life can hopefully cultivate. He thinks that alien life forms already habituate the planet, but they are yet to be seen. Tars requests Amelia to view the video message, and Murph's voice fills the entire room as she reveals the truth. Murph whimpers at the idea of her father leaving them to die. Cooper is taken aback by the sudden revelation. Amelia swears she doesn't know what Murph is talking about. Mann butts in, saying that Professor Brand solved the equation even before the astronauts left, but simply proving the theory isn't enough. They need information on what's inside the black hole to put it into practical use. Unfortunately, the laws of nature don't allow that. Mann justifies the professor's actions, saying that sacrificing the lives of the billions on Earth is necessary to save the human race. Cooper is in denial as he plans to return to Earth. Back on Earth, Murph informs her colleague, Getty, about the professor's lies. Getty says society deserves to know their fate, but Murph refuses to disclose this information. She still hasn't given up on Plan A, a gut feeling tells her that there's a chance. She remembers the ghost in her room and plans to return and decipher its messages finally. Murph visits her old room while Getty checks up on Tom's family's worsening condition. Getty berates Tom for not leaving their home, and he punches Getty. Murph provokes him by asking if he'll wait for his next kid to die before he moves out. Tom threatens them to leave. Along their way, Murph steers into the cornfields. She grabs a fuel tank and starts dousing the crops, lighting it, and driving away. The fires alert Tom, and he leaves his home to attend to the disaster. Murph and Getty use this opportunity to rescue Tom's family and to return to her room. On the alien planet, Cooper prepares for his departure to Earth. Romilly suggests throwing Tars in the black hole so that he can collect information about what's inside. Tars is a robot, but he shows his humanity as he accepts the challenge. Dr. Mann prepares to construct the laboratory and habitat modules being sent down from Endurance. Cooper accompanies Mann to scout out potential areas for the modules. On their journey, Mann converses with Cooper about how the survival instincts of humans allow them to push themselves beyond their capabilities. And as a father, that instinct strengthens because of his children. Their conversation grows odder by the second, and they find themselves at an edge looking below an abyss. Suddenly, Mann removes Cooper's transmission device and pushes him off. Mann tries to kick his hands, but Cooper drags him down with him. Mann says he can't let Cooper leave with the ship. He confesses that he faked his data and that the planet is inhabitable. He chose to save his life, endangering the mission in the process. The two wrestle, and when Cooper gets the upper hand, Mann headbutts Cooper's helmet, exposing him to the toxic air and leaves him to suffocate. He looks back at Cooper, trying to feel sorry for him. Cooper crawls his way to a transmission device and shouts for Amelia. Case and Amelia fly towards Cooper. They arrive right on time, and Amelia runs to save him. They board the ship, and Cooper reveals Mann's lies. Meanwhile, Wormhole starts to modify TARS. When he looks into the data of Dr. Man's tactical robot, he senses that something's wrong. He hears Amelia calling on the radio, but an explosion occurs. In the distance is Dr. Man, surprised by what happened. He turns on his comms to hear Cooper alive with Amelia. Cooper and Amelia see the devastation, and within the flames, TARS appears. TARS boards the ship and breaks the news of Wormhole's death. Simultaneously, Dr. Man boards the ship, planning to desert the crew. Cooper communicates with him, but he doesn't respond. Case informs the crew that the auto-docking procedure on board the vessel is disabled. It'll take a miracle for Dr. Man to board Endurance successfully. Man approaches the space station and plans to dock the ship manually. The ship dangerously hovers around the hatch, and Man fails to align it perfectly. Despite the blaring alarms, he still plans to open the hatch. Cooper and the crew approach Endurance. He desperately asks Man not to open the hatch as this will cause the airlock to explode. Amelia's voice starts to broadcast in the ship, warning him again. Man justifies his actions, saying he's doing this for humanity. He opens the hatch, and the airlock explodes. The crew sees the explosion from a distance, and debris approaches them. Cooper assumes control of the spacecraft. He plans to chase Endurance and dock at extreme speeds. Case says it's not possible. He counters, saying it's necessary. They're under the docking area as Endurance nears the stratosphere of the planet. TARS opens up the hatch, and they're perfectly aligned. The ship starts rotating with Endurance. They experience intense G-force, causing Amelia to black out. Cooper holds on to the controls for dear life, and TARS successfully locks in. They stop the rotation, pushing Endurance out of the stratosphere. The station stabilizes, and they celebrate. However, their celebration gets cut off when Case says that they're headed to Gargantua. Inside the ship, they travel through the damaged corridors. In the generator room, Amelia says that there's power and the system is stable. Cooper announces that the navigations are destroyed. They can't return to Earth, but they might reach Edmund's planet. Cooper plans to use Gargantua as a giant slingshot to propel them to Edmund. They prepare, using every last component of Endurance. They'd have to rid of all the weight they can, including TARS. Amelia doesn't like the idea, but TARS says his only goal is to save humanity. Endurance is in Gargantua's orbit. They reach the maximum velocity, and they start their exit. One by one, all the engines fire off. TARS detaches and says his goodbyes. Amelia panics upon hearing Case starting to eject Cooper's section. There aren't enough resources for both of them, and Cooper detaches, sacrificing himself. He approaches the center of the black hole. Amelia cries as she listens to Cooper's final words. Darkness enveloped Cooper's ship, and he calls out to TARS. Flashes of light start to appear, and turbulence increases. The light hits the ship like droplets of rain, and the exterior begins to burn up. Cooper shouts and loses consciousness. He's awakened by the computer telling him to eject. He flies off into the darkness, shivering in the coldness and pressure. He falls into a seemingly endless room and grabs hold of one of the walls. He realizes that the wall is made up of books. He tries to look on the other side, and he sees a room. He bangs on the shelves, and a young Murph notices the fallen books and miniature lander. Cooper calls out to the young Murph, but she doesn't hear him. He turns to see that every wall is a different event in Murph's past. He sees his younger self planning to leave. He cusses himself out and shouts at him to stay. Cooper realizes he can communicate through Morse code. He starts pushing into the books, trying to spell out the word stay. Meanwhile, present Murph starts to pull out the books. She becomes emotional as she looks for the message she wrote in a notebook when she was a child. Present Murph realizes that the ghost was her father. TARS survives and calls out to Cooper. He says they're in the dimension created by the omnibenevolent beings where time is a physical plane. Cooper realizes that since gravity can travel through time, he can send a message to Murph. Present Murph realizes the same thing and counts on her father to send a message. Cooper asks TARS for NASA's coordinates in binary. He sends it to his past self in the form of the sand. Cooper laughs as he realizes that the omnibenevolent beings chose Murph to save humanity. He travels through the corridors, following his love for Murph. He believes he can use the watch to inform Murph about the quantum data she can use to make planet work. Murph grabs the watch, and there she sees the seconds arm ticking in Morse code. She runs outside and hugs Tom, saying that their father came back to save them. In Brand's office, she figures out how to execute Plan A. An overjoyed Murph launches her calculations and kisses Getty. TARS informs Cooper that their plan worked as the omnibenevolent beings start to close the dimension they're in. Cooper reveals that the beings are humans who have lived long after them and evolved into something beyond their imagination. Cooper gets consumed by the bright light and sees Amelia reaching out her hand to him. His arm was the distortion she previously saw. Cooper wakes up in a hospital room. He looks out to see a warped world, and the doctor informs him that they're in Cooper Station near Saturn. He appreciates them naming it after him, and the nurse laughs. It's named after his daughter, who is on her way to see him. As he tours the station, he sees how far humans have come. They find themselves in his home that acts as a sort of museum honoring Cooper's life. He sees TARS, and later that day, he fixes him up. Cooper enters a room to see his descendants and an old Murph. She's overjoyed to see that her father came back. She then asks for him to leave and look for Amelia. Amelia and Case are alone in a foreign land. Meanwhile, Cooper and TARS start a journey to reunite with them. The omnibenevolent beings are humans. After generations of evolution and innovation, they can enter a multidimensional plane. This allowed them to create the three-dimensional plane where Cooper was transported to when he entered the black hole. There, he gave the quantum data to Murph, which she then used to execute Plan A. The NASA space station was able to leave Earth and create stations spread throughout the galaxy, and one of them is the Cooper station. The black hole spewed him out near Saturn years later because of the slower time he experienced when he got slingshotted in Gargantuan. Cooper then meets a much older Murph, who tells him to find Amelia. Amelia just landed on Edmund's planet due to time relativity, probably thinking that she's humanity's last hope, not knowing that humanity has sent out Cooper to find her. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.